On this edition of Early Look, I'm going to be previewing the UFC 311 co-main event as part of the star-studded card for the undisputed bantamweight title between Merab Dvalishvili and Umar Nurmagomedov. My name is James Lynch. If you've never watched the show before, I'm going to go through a bunch of different stats, a bunch of different intangibles, and then I'm going to give you my prediction for this fight at the end. Some of this stuff may have relevance to you, it may not. Let me know in the comments who you like in this fight. What's your prediction? Don't just give me a pick, give me a prediction. That's always a lot better. As we always do, let's do a quick tail of the tape between these two. We got Merab the Machine coming in at 18-4. We got Umar Nurmagomedov coming in at 18-0. Both have 18 wins. 34 years old to 29, 5'6" to 5'8", 68 to 69. So Umar going to be a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. He's also younger than his opponent. Let's start first with the Machine. Merab Dvalishvili, the bantamweight champion, going to be defending his crown for the very first time. 5-round fight, by the way. And I forgot to mention this is going to be taking place in LA at the Intuit Dome. Hope I'm saying that right. But let's start with Merab first. He has got 3 knockouts, 1 submission, and 14 decisions in his 18-4 record. I mentioned it there. He is 34 years old by the time the fight starts. Right now, at the time I'm recording this, he's still 33. He's 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. Trains out of Serra-Longo MMA and also trains at Syndicate MMA in Vegas as well. He's got a black belt in judo. He's the first Georgian-born champion in UFC history. He's got performance of the night one time against Marlon Moraes. He's got fight of the night one time against Ricky Simon. He's got the most unanimous decision wins in UFC bantamweight division history as well. Made his amateur debut way back in May of 2013. Made his pro debut in January of 2014. Made his UFC debut in December of 2017. So, and that was the controversial fight against Frankie Saenz, which we'll talk about a little bit later on here. He is 11-2 in the UFC. He's got 1 stoppage victory. Actually, is that right? Yeah, I guess he's only got the 1 stoppage one against Marlon Moraes. He's gone the distance. He's like the Movsar Evloev of bantamweight. But he's got a lot of notable wins here. Let's go through some of them. So Brad Katona was a big one at the time, if you remember, because Brad was undefeated at 8-0, won in the Ultimate Fighter. He also took out John Dodson, former title challenger. Casey Kenny was 13-1 at the time when he defeated him. Can't forget about Marlon Moraes, the former title challenger. He's also beat Jose Aldo, Petr Yan, Henry Cejudo, and most recently Sean O'Malley. The only loss, he's had 2 losses. The Frankie Saenz fight, which, again, if you go look on MMA decisions or you just even watch that fight, majority of people felt like Frankie shouldn't have won that fight. That should have gone to Merab. And then there's the Ricky Simon fight, which is really weird. It technically was ruled a submission win for Ricky Simon, but there's some weird stuff going on with the clock, and at the end, it was a bit confusing. It was a great fight, but yeah, that's one that's a little bit odd. Would be nice for them to at some point to do a rematch, but I don't think that'll happen because Simone's nowhere near the title picture as well. So again, just the one sort of two weird losses early in his UFC career, and then hasn't lost since then. So he's been on quite the roll, Merab Dvalishvili. He's had a couple layoffs in his career, going from Marlon Moraes to Jose Aldo. There was a 329-day layoff going from Petr Yan to Henry Cejudo. There's a 343-day layoff. He actually fought twice last year, or in 2024, and gets a nice turnaround going from September to January for this fight. He's never really had any major injuries, any fight cancellations, anything like that. And like I mentioned, one of his losses against Frankie Saenz was one where 10 media members scored the fight for Merab, only 4 scored it for Frankie Saenz. So that's one that probably could have gone the other way, and maybe people think differently about Merab. Let's look at some stats here with Merab, the UFC stats, that is. They're very impressive. Let's see. So if you look on here, Merab is significant strikes landed per minute is 4.35. That's fairly high. Striking accuracy is only at 42%. His striking defense is at 56%, but doesn't get hit that much. Takedown average 6.09. That's one of the highest I've seen on here. Takedown accuracy is at 36%. His takedown defense is at 80%, and his sub average is 0.3. Again, he does not finish a lot of fights. But yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know about the bantamweight champion, Merab Dvalishvili. Big fight. This is one of my most anticipated fights in 2025. I'm really looking forward to this one because I do think the style matchup is very interesting. Let's talk about his opponent, Umar Nurmagomedov. You can see they're undefeated, the cousin of Khabib Nurmagomedov and the older brother of Usman Nurmagomedov, who's the Bellator champ. He is 18-0. He's got 2 knockouts, 7 submissions, and I believe 9 decisions. I don't know, I missed that. He's the number 2 ranked bantamweight in the division. Got that ranking, obviously, for beating Corey Sandhagen. He's 29 years old. He is 5'8". And again, same sort of thing. He'll be 29 by the time of the fight starting here. Yeah, so 29 to 34. Just making sure. Yeah, he's 29 years old. He's 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. So he's 5 years younger than Merab. He's got a 2-inch height and 1-inch reach advantage. He trains out of Eagles MMA and AKA. He's got performance of the night 2 times against Sergey Morozov and Hayoni Barcelos. I guess he didn't get a performance of the night against Sandhagen, which is odd. That was a really good fight. He made his amateur debut in May of 2016, made his actual pro debut a few months later in December, and then did not make his UFC debut until January of 2021, that fight with Sergey Morozov. He's 6-0 in the octagon. He's got 3 finishes, some notable wins. He's only got 2. That would be Raoni Barcelos and Corey Sandhagen. You know, like a lot of these guys, like Morozov not in the UFC, Brian Kelleher not in the UFC, Nate Maness not in the UFC. It's not his fault. Like, there's a variety of reasons for that. I mean, some of it is guys don't want to fight him, but that's the one sort of criticism with Umar. He hasn't really fought a lot of good competition. But saying that, he got one of the best wins you can possibly get in his last fight over Corey Sandhagen. I mean, that was an amazing win, good performance. So that is why he is getting this title shot. He's had a couple injuries and missed times here. You look at this. So if you look back in, let's start with April of 2020, there was that Corona thing that was canceled, that card. You had he withdrew from the Nathaniel Wood fight. I believe that's because of his uncle passing away, Habib's dad. Then he was supposed to fight Sergey Morozov in October of 2020. He had an illness. Supposed to fight Jack Shore. Not sure what happened there. Corey Sandhagen, the first time he had to withdraw from that due to injury. So he's had a few things that have kept him out of action, and he's had a couple layoffs already in a short UFC career. If you look at going from Morozov to Brian Kelleher, there was a 409-day layoff, and then going from Nate Maness to Raoni Barcelos, there was a 203-day layoff. Last year, 2024, I should say, he had 2 fights, so very active there, and he's going from August to January, which isn't like a huge layoff at all, so that's very good for Umar. It's never been any close fights, despite the fact he's gone the distance a few times. All those were pretty decisive, and let's look at his stats. Very impressive here. You can see significant strikes landed per minute, 4.46. The striking accuracy is 63%, so a lot more accurate than Merab. His striking defense is also at 63%. He does not get hit that much. His takedown average is a little bit lower than Merab's, 3.98. His takedown accuracy is at 50%, and his takedown defense is at 100%. His sub-average is 0.4, which is slightly higher than Merab Dvalishvili. Okay, let's go look at the odds right now. And if you look at the odds, and this takes all the sports books, you'll see Umar is the favorite as the challenger, almost 3-1. Well, 3-1 on DraftKings, and then everywhere else he's close to 3-1. And Merab a decent underdog there. And Tapology tells a similar story. 70%, actually, it's a little bit closer. 70% for Umar, just 30% for Merab Dvalishvili. Okay, which way am I going in this one? Well, right when the fight was announced, I kind of felt like it would go this way, and I think it will go this way as I'm doing this right now. I think Umar takes this fight. Now, here's what it comes down to, because they're very similar. I think grappling-wise, wrestling-wise, all that, I think they're even. If not, you could give maybe a slight edge to Umar, but it's hard to say because Umar has been pretty he's looked very impressive in the fights that he has had. Merab's obviously fought better opposition. So there's that. I think Merab's got a bit better cardio. Although we did see Umar go 5 rounds against Corey Sandhagen in his last fight. But I'm going Umar decision. Now, here's why. 50% of Umar's wins, 9 total in his career, have gone the distance. You've got Merab, who's only been finished once in 22 fights, and that was that really weird fight with Ricky Simone. I don't know if that happens here. We'll see. I mean, if anyone could do it, it would probably be Umar, but I think it's more likely Umar takes him the 5-round decision instead. Merab's never been knocked out. He's been close a few times. In fact, I thought that was one of the reasons why I thought maybe O'Malley could beat him in the last fight, was I think we could see him get hit. Remember the Marlon Moraes fight? He almost got finished in that fight, but somehow survived and was able to finish Moraes himself. I don't think Umar possesses that same type of power that like a Marlon Moraes does, so I don't really think Merab has to worry about that. I don't think Umar knocks him out, although saying that was it the Barcelos fight? He did land a pretty good left hook in that one. But I don't know. I think Merab, while he does get hit, I don't think Umar's going to knock Merab out of all people. Maybe he does, but I don't see that happening. And I think the big thing here is Umar has 1 finish in his last 4 fights. I mentioned the Barcelos fight. Barcelos a little bit older, right? So he's coming in at 35. Merab's, a year younger, but I feel like Barcelos has like more sort of wear and tear on him. I don't know. I just kind of feel like, Merab's a lot better of a fighter than Barcelos. So I'm leaning more decision here as opposed to finish, but you never know. Again, there's always fights where it surprises you. I mean, if you would have told me Islam Makhachev was going to knock out Volkanovski, I would have not believed that, but that's what happens. So sometimes things happen in fights, but I do think the odds are kind of where they need to be. Just because, again, Merab's sort of used to out-grappling, out-wrestling his opponents, utilizing his cardio like he did with Sean O'Malley, but he's not going to be able to do that against Umar because Umar's pretty much it's like he's fighting a younger clone of himself with better striking. That's kind of how I look at it. And again, where I think Merab is a little bit more favored is in the cardio department, but I don't think Umar is going to have any cardio issues with the fact that, that's something he's worked on. And obviously we saw that in the Corey Sandhagen fight. So yeah, not a long prediction here today, but I do think Umar takes it by decision. If not, maybe a late finish, but I think Umar gets it done. So I think most people are going to be picking Umar in the spot. So we don't need to all agree here, but let me know if you think Umar finishes, or let me know if you like Merab here. If you think Merab wins, how do you think he wins? I think most people would say Merab by decision, but you never know. We'll see. Again, Merab is extremely talented, and I think this fight is going to be very interesting, but I have to go with Umar right now. I just think there's, too many things that do point in his direction for getting it done. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.